Let's start with the next module, which is Cloud Database Services and Utilities. And this session, we will talk about database as a service. So we'll try to understand what a database as a service is, what are its benefits, and then we'll look at some of the AWS offerings for database as a service. And then the important question we will try to answer, how to choose the right database service. That all depends upon the type of workload, but we'll look at some of the use cases in there. Let's start with the definition. What exactly is database as a service? So now database as a service solution lets you outsource the time-consuming task of managing database infrastructure, software, and day-to-day operations. This allows you to focus on building your application and rely on the cloud provider to handle underlying databases for you. So whenever we talk about databases, so it's not about only developing a solution in a database, but the database has to be managed. Because the data actually is written on the disk in terms of files or in terms of blocks. So those have to be managed because the data will keep on, we'll try to write the data, we'll try to erase the data, we'll try to update the data. And there are a lot of factors which require a specialized, engineers. We call them either database administrators. So those kind of engineers are required to manage your database. So it's not only the database developers or the database specialized engineers just to write a database solution or create a database solution for you. We require a separate set of people called database administrator. That's a very specialized skill. When we talk about database as a service, so those kind of administration activities like managing, patching, and other things, they can definitely be offloaded. And that's where we call this kind of services as a managed solution. What is being managed by your cloud provider, that is why we call these as a managed solution. We sometimes offload those tasks which are actually time consuming. Let's try to understand in depth about the database as a service. Now we understand, the cloud-based services. This is a cloud-based service for deploying, operating, and scaling your database. This is also important, scaling. We can scale our database. So the cloud provider manages your hardware. Definitely, like you need a bare metal, you need a server to deploy or install your database. So that is again managed by a cloud provider. Your software installations, backup, patching, and other security things, that is being taken care by the cloud provider. And now for using this service, we just have to kind of, pay as you go pricing model is still there. We have to just pay for what we use. And we have got a flexible configuration options as well. Try to understand this. This is something like, database as service is like renting a fully furnished house. And this is maintained, the apartment is, maintained by your landlord, right? So the idea is very simple. You go and rent an apartment. You live in that apartment, but the landlord is actually going to take care of the infrastructure and keep it up to date. But you are only going to pay for the time you are staying there, for the time you use the services like water, electricity, and whatnot. The next thing is, benefits of having a database service. One of the key benefits you might have already understood, we are offloading the operational activities. So this is very first thing, like very important benefit is we reduce the operational overhead as we don't manage physical servers and the database software installations. So most of the administration tasks, they are actually being taken care by the cloud provider. So the next thing is it is easily scalable. So at any given moment, so if we need that we are running a workload, a high workload, or a demand is high, we can always scale up and we can always scale down when the demand goes down. Now the database as a service often includes the built-in redundancy. It is also important and failover. So these mechanisms are required for high availability. So we can achieve higher availability by building redundancy. We have seen that earlier. And failover mechanism is required for disaster recovery as well. Now, the cloud providers invest heavily in security and often have pre-built compliance options available. This is also another thing. So the cloud providers, when they're managing, administrating all this database environment, they have a lot of security put in place because eventually your data, your customer data or your own personal data is going to be residing on those servers. So they understand this and they have invested a lot in security. Another thing is they've got pre-built compliance options. When we talk about data as such, there are a lot of compliance activity that falls into place. If we are, let's say, using a financial organization or a financial database, so the SOX compliance. So the idea is very simple. Like if you want to carry out some kind of, compliance and also if you say that this is the cloud provider, so those auditors understand, that they have already complied with all the regulations based on those particular acts. So that is important. Like most of the things that they're pre-built confined, they just rubber stamp it and tell you that this is a compliant option available. So another thing which we all know is free up your team, especially the development team, so we don't have to concentrate on administration tasks rather than we just focus on developing our solution and, focus on innovation. Let's look at, what are the various AWS DB services available. So we have a relational database service called RDS. Then we have got Amazon Aurora. This is a proprietary service by Amazon, which is again a relational database service. Then we got Amazon DynamoDB, Amazon Neptune, and in the end we have got Amazon Redshift. Let's quickly try to see what exactly all these services are and what kind of use cases it caters to. The first one is a relational database service. So this is a managed relational database service. When you see this term managed, that simply means, most of the administration tasks are being managed by the cloud provider. So this is a relational database service, and it supports both open source databases like MySQL and Postgres, and also the commercial databases as well. The next thing is Amazon Aurora. As I said, it's a proprietary AWS service. What Amazon Aurora has to offer you is it is fully compliant with the open source databases, that is MySQL and PostgreSQL. And this relational database is built for high performance, scalability, availability in the cloud. Also, it's take care of another dimension where, the traditional databases fails, that is, providing you with a huge amount of data sets, like very large database solutions. They have a huge amount of storage. So you can easily save your data, but again, take care of the high performance features. So these are optimized by Amazon itself. And this is again a fully managed relational solution. The next thing is Amazon DynamoDB. This is a NoSQL serverless option. So this is also important if you want to use this NoSQL database for a very fast and predictable performance. And if you want to scale seamlessly, because this is a serverless option. So behind the hood, it scales very seamlessly. The next thing is Amazon Neptune, and this is again a fully managed graph database service. But it makes, just like you want to use a graph database, especially you want to create a social networking site, for example. This is a typical use case in there where you will use the Amazon Neptune database. The last but not the least is the Redshift, Amazon Redshift, which is again a data warehouse. It's a petabyte scale data warehouse service. And it actually manages your large data set. It is something different. It is an analytical service rather than just for your transactional database, which we saw earlier. So now next, $1 million question is, how do we choose which database as a service is right for us? The first thing is your data type. What kind of data type you have, whether you want to run the relational solution or you want to run a NoSQL solution. That way you have to pick up which database service is right for you. Next thing is again a database engine. Is there any demand for a particular proprietary software, which database solution which you want, or you are flexible in terms of that? Then again your workload, whether it is read heavy or write heavy. So if it's just an analytical solution or read heavy, then you will go for the Redshift solution, or that's a data warehouse. If it is write heavy or a transactional database, then we'll look for other option. The next thing is scaling requirements. We understood that just like Aurora, it's a highly scalable database. Again, if we go for other options which are highly scalable, so we have to look at those options as well. Let's look at what are the GCP offering. So in GCP we got Cloud SQL, Cloud Spanner, just like we have Aurora. So this is Cloud Spanner, but again it can handle terabytes or petabyte scale of data. So it's compliant with MySQL and Postgres. Then we have got Cloud Bigtable. So this is a NoSQL service available. Then we got Firestore. Again, this database is used for your mobile and your web solutions. And in Azure, we have similar offering. We call it a Cloud Azure SQL database. So it's again kind of a relational database service, RDS feature available. Then we have two flavors of it. So one is for MySQL and Postgres, because again, these are open source data solution. So this was a proprietary SQL Server solution. Then we have got a very interesting offering from Azure. It's called Azure Cosmos DB. So this is why I'm saying interesting is because this is a NoSQL. It is also a kind of a relational database. It can also serve vectors as well. It can do multiple things at once. So one single solution for multiple things in there. So with this we have come to the end of this lesson. So we understood what is database as a service, looked at some of the benefits. We looked at what are the various AWS offerings, whether it is your relational, non-relational offering and your data warehouse solution. And then we looked at, how do we choose as the right database as a service solution. And then again, a similar offerings from GCP and Azure.